Ew. Well, I mean, if this didn't get your attention, I don't think anyone or anything would. Welcome to Hanging Cable South Africa with myself, Keith Botha and Clifford Ogle. And welcome to Raceday.tv on this wonderful Wednesday. Still in lockdown, but soon to be out, I hope. Cliffy, how are you doing, bud?
You know what, Keith? I actually ventured out into the workforce today and put in some few hours of hard labor, and I'm going to feel it tomorrow, but it was just nice to be out there. Definitely the world has changed since we were all locked down. It's so quiet. It's weird. But anyway, good to see your beautiful face. I've missed that beard. How's things that side, my boy?
Yeah, I mean, it's been an interesting week. I think like everyone else, everyone's being really proactive with social media and doing a lot of work with races and trying to keep the industry going and focusing on chatting with riders and getting to know riders. And that's brought us to our guest for tonight, which is definitely one of the fastest Africans ever to hit a tar road on the TT. Our guest for this evening, we're going to spend quite a bit of time with him and just to get a know and perspective of his career and his racing. Welcome to the show, AJ Venter. How you doing, bud?
Hi, Keith. Hey, Clifford. How you guys doing, man? Thank you for having me on the show.
Awesome, welcome to it. Is that your dad in the background there? Is that Uncle Andre? Where is he working there?
Yes, so Pops is busy building an engine, yeah. We, with the lockdown that's happened now, I'll show you. Hold on, Dad, give us a wave. We happened to move everything back. What we did is obviously with the lockdown, so we didn't get bored, we built a little workshop back at my dad's house, and we could just catch up getting bikes ready and keeping ourselves busy, you know, a little bit of tinkering.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's good that you guys have the toys to play with in a time like this. I mean, AJ, just to get the show started and just to get into who you are, how you got into racing, you know, there's a lot of people out there that don't really know much about you as a rider and your career as a road racer and also all the other championships you've been competing in. So, I don't know, do you want to kick us off and, you know, start off and telling us how you got all into racing and how it started for you?
So look, my racing career, we were laughing about it the other day. Next year, 2021, will be 20 years since I started racing sports circuits and, you know, motorbikes in general. I started on a little TZR 50 racing here in Northern Regions Racing. I think I done in 2001, 2002, 2003. We won 50s. I raced. I'm sure we'll have a couple of pics. There's a pic there of myself and Robert Portman. It's Sean's birthday today. Happy birthday, Sean. That was us, little snot pickers riding around on little 50s. And you know, racing's been in our family a long time. The other day when I was watching one of your shows, you had Rob on the show, and I was giving Rob some stick about how long he's been involved. When I was a lot younger, we used to go to the national racing, and I used to, you know, Rob was a national rider. He rode with my brother-in-law Gary, and I was one of those kids that used to ride a bicycle on the pit and basically torture everybody and want to sit on their bikes and that. And, you know, now I'm racing, and I'm still racing, and Rob's racing. So I feel old, so I can imagine how old Rob feels.
We'll have a chat with Rob.
I did a spell.
Well done.
I did a spell in South Africa, 2001 to 3 on a 50, 125. 2004 we used to have a 250 production class, and then 2005, 2006 we stepped up to the nationals. We rode. First I was in the 600s. I rode the 600 regionals and nationals. It was two separate things at the time. And then the end of 06, I got into a situation where I could go to the UK and do a bit of riding there. And I raced from 2006 till I think end of 2012, all various different categories. I rode a junior superstock 600. I raced superstock 1000. I did British Championship on a R1. We raced a flat blade there. So I had a good spell there. And then I came back here at the end of 2012 or 2011. And we set up a little bit of a business in terms of building bikes and a little riding school, teaching people. I enjoy teaching. While I was in the UK, I done a bit of work at Ron Haslam's race school. And
oh, wow.
I enjoy helping people and sharing a passion. showing them what we learn on motorbikes. And the riding schools got quite popular. And then myself ran a little workshop here in Edinburgh, Lekker Racing.
That's awesome. Cliffy?
Yeah, I mean, you've gone through the whole spell, but I mean, you've like you said, you've raced all over the place, and then what? I mean, it's mostly track that the disciplines that you're talking about now. But then, at what stage do you decide that I'm going to take this on the road and become a road racer?
So the road racing aspect for me, I'll tell you what happened was in 2007, I had a teammate that in one of the teams I rode for, and he was a bit of a lunatic, and he was into his road racing. We went over to the Isle of Man, and he was riding, and the bike that I was racing in the British Championship was his bike for the roads, if you want to call it that. And you get to a place like the TT, and you think, well, where we come from, we don't do things like that, I didn't have a license to ride or anything, so it was a new experience. Then in 2010, I got offered a ride at the TT. We were going to ride a R1 for another guy named Sean Emmett. He pulled out last minute, and there was a bike available. And the people I was involved with in the UK and the team and my sponsors and that, they put a bit of pressure on me and basically said I couldn't do the road racing thing, obviously the danger involved. So I sort of put it on a back seat, but I've enjoyed it. And when I came back the end of 2011, I was back home. I've got a couple of friends that still do the road racing side of things, so you follow them. And the Isle of Man government also, they invited us over in I think 2009. They've got a couple of scouts that cruise around the British paddock, and they just look for people who may be interested in a bit of road racing. And I got into a conversation with him. And Paul Phillips just left me his number, and he said, AJ, anytime you ever feel like you want to come across, drop me a WhatsApp, I'll make it happen. And I thought nothing of it. And then 2013 or 2012, somewhere around there, we were actually at Sun City, and I wasn't racing at the time. And I was watching some road racing video on YouTube, and I thought, you know what, let me drop him a message and see if that offer still stands. So I sent Paul a message. Within half an hour, he ran back to me. And he said to me, we're going to ride, we'll do it, we'll put a deal together. He put me in touch with the team. And the funny part about the whole story was no one actually, I hadn't spoken to anybody. I didn't think it was a serious thing, to be honest. And I thought, okay, I'm with my missus at Sun City. The trip to Joburg, I can sort of initiate that I'm going to go and ride the TT in there. And obviously I had to discuss it with my dad and my mom and them. They've been a big part of my racing from day one. And you've got to sort of think of a way around to say, guys, I'm going road racing. And so anyway, long story short, about half an hour later, they sent a press release, which I agreed. I said, okay, cool, guys, we'll send it out tomorrow morning. And then I put my phone down and I went swimming. By the time I'd come back, they'd sent the press release live, and it was all over social media already. So the next minute, my phone's ringing, and my phone was like, yeah, I've just seen something on the internet. Are you going to TT? And it was, about that, Dad. When I get home, we'll have a conversation. And that sort of became it was like a lastminute.com. I went over 2013 in February. We went over for the press launch. That was the first time I could really see the track and experience where you're going to be riding. And I remember walked up, stood on the start line with a friend of mine, Johnson. And Gary's won, I think he's won 2 TTs or 3 TTs. He's a big name around there, and a very knowledgeable guy. And he started helping me, and he was saying to me, AJ, this is the pit straight, and this is, you want to be over here. And I just, I looked and I thought, geez, I don't know if I'm cut for this. I don't know if I've shot my mouth off going, guys, let's ride a TT, And I took it in my stride, and what bugged was I didn't want to go home and say, listen, guys, I had a look at the place. It's not my cup of tea. So I went, I rode, and I managed to go again. I don't have a clue. I promise you, Keith, one thing, where I made a mistake, and if I could advise anybody that wants to go and and enter or gets the opportunity of doing the TT, when the organizers do your homework, you need to do your homework, you know. I got there blind.
AJ, I'm going to just to interrupt you quickly there, just while we're on the topic, when you mentioning the start of it. Did you say this was 2013? And we have a question from Christopher. Asking, that first time you spent time on that track, as we can see on screen there now, I mean, that is the most famous circuit in the world, or terms of road for racing bikes anywhere. Everyone knows it. But Chris wants to know, like, how long did it take you to really feel comfortable and know the course, one? And then how hard is it, like, mentally, you know, and that, like, kind of pressure to get through, or the fear to going flat out around this thing? Like, is it a massive mind switch, or is it literally you kind of born into it and you just have big kahunas?
So the thing with the Keith, and that's sort of why I'm saying you have to do your homework in learning the place. You're not just going to arrive there and learn where you're going. The biggest thing, and one of the things that sucks me into doing the TT, is it's a challenge to yourself. So you need to be mentally prepared for it. You need to be physically prepared for it. Whether you ride a really, really special bike, or whether you ride a bike like we're riding now, the way you ride it around there is a big difference. My first year when I got there, the government ran a program, the Allann-Jon government now, they'll run a program for a newcomer where if you're in the UK, it's an hour or 25-minute flight. So they could fly you over, they put you up in a hotel, they'll give you a rental car, and you can do as many laps around the course as you feel, you know. And I mean, the year Peter Hickman's first year before he raced to the TT, I think he'd done something like 100 laps in a car around the course. Now, you obviously you're not going to ride at speed, but you're familiar of which way the land goes. What didn't work for me, though, was obviously in Joburg, you'd have to go Joburg, London, Isle-of-Man. So the first time I really got to see the place was first night's practice. And that sorted me out. That you know, I did a lap, and I pulled in and out of the team, and I said, you know, guys, for me, this is the best place in the world. I can learn it, I can understand it. And what you start doing, and TT is not like a race weekend here where it's over 3 days. The TT runs over 2 weeks. Yeah. So during the day, it's a normal business day. Cars on the road, everybody goes to work. Then at 5:30 they close the roads, half an hour, and the first bike goes down what they call Bray Hill. So I just every single day watching onboard laps, and then I was quite good friends with the organizers, where if they're putting signage up, I jump in the car and go for a lap, and just try and get yourself on the circuit as much as you can. The big thing with that place is you've got to mentally, if you've got any doubts in your head of what can go wrong, you don't want to ride there. I think if somebody tells you they're scared, they're lying. You know, they're trying to be brave. Yeah. You have to be scared. And that's what sucks you in. You know, that's why you do it, for the addiction.
Okay, well, that's quite a big answer. Cliffy, I'm going to give it over to you. That was a good question, Christopher. Thank you. And just a shout out to all of our fans watching at home. Welcome to Raceday.tv and Hanging Cable. We're chatting with AJ Venter, our fastest road racer out of Africa. Cliffy, are you wanting to get in there? Get some action going here?
I mean, I was looking at that onboard footage now that they were showing AJ, and you said that, you know, in the past you like to train and give guys knowledge and all sorts. What would be the 5 tips that you'd give someone that would be entering the Isle-of-Man for the first time? Because as I look at that footage that you're going through there, I'm just looking at the things that you can hit, and obviously, like, vision is very important. But what would be the other things for someone that would want to get into it? What tips would you give them?
You know, if somebody wants to go to the TT, the first question you've got to ask them, and you're going to laugh at me now, is you've got to ask them why they want to do it. A lot of people, and you get the odd person that tries to do the TT as a bucket list. And if they're going there to get it off their bucket list, they're going to get hurt. So if there's 5 things I would tell you to prepare, one is your preparation. You've got to watch your onboard laps and do as much research on the place as possible. You need to make sure you're physically fit. I mean, a lap of the TT course is 37 miles. So it's about 60 odd kilometers a lap. But for those 60 Ks, you don't sit down. So you're sort of standing on the bike like you ride a horse. So you're jockeying the bike a lot, obviously, as you're going over the jumps. So physically, your body takes an absolute beating. Your neck. Yes.
I don't mean to interrupt, but while we have all these pictures with you in the air on the superbike, and it's a good point Christopher also made, these bikes aren't made for being airborne, right? And you mentioned earlier something about your belly pan, and I think it was this picture as you landed, or it's that same hill, where the bike bends, and the motion of the bike is intense. And I think people don't realize what happens to the bike and how it moves when you actually land after being airborne like that. Like, how does it feel as a rider and at that speed? I mean, it's a split second, you don't feel it, but you know what the bike does. And how does it feel to go into the air at that speed?
You know, Keith, there's a couple of different places at the TT. There's so much happening in a lap. So one or two, and I mean, I'll be honest with you, I go up to the jump. When I hit the jump, I close my eyes, and you hope you land. You know, you've got to hit the jump, fifth, sixth gear flat out, and then there's one or two sections where there's a run from what they call Ginger Hall to Ramsey, and a stretch of about, say, 10, 11 kilometers where you literally just lock on the handlebars. And where the psychological side of it comes is, if you picture yourself riding a bike and you're going over a whoopy section, if you keep the throttle open, the front wheel stays in the air and the back wheel rides the bumps. Now, picture yourself going flat down a country lane and you're bouncing over the bumps, but if you get worried and you close the throttle, it's going to make it worse. So you need to mentally tell yourself, keep the throttle open, take the weight off the front wheel, and basically steer the bike over the jumps.
That's almost like an off-road in motocross, if they're going through that sections with the multiple small bumps where they just go on the back wheel, essentially. Cliffy, how would you feel if you had to get an opportunity to go to the TT and go around that track? Would you do it?
Keith, this is just between you and myself, but when I look at this on onboard footage or whatever, I'm terrified. This is crazy. There's actually absolutely no way I could wrap my head around it. So for guys like AJ or whatever, what he's telling me now, I'm like soaking it all in, because I don't think this is somewhere I'm going to find myself anywhere soon in my racing career, to be honest with you. It's insane.
AJ, so we can see a picture of you at Macau. Now, that's something we haven't touched on, because the thing is, in reality, we can spend the whole night here talking about your road racing career, because it's quite foreign for South Africans. We're very used to the circuit racing. We haven't had a lot of exports going overseas taking part in this kind of events, but you have been labeled our main guy for doing it. But like, I'm looking at that picture and you touching the wall there. Do you want to just kind of talk about the Macau Grand Prix and the difference between that and the Isle of Man, and how your preparations are different, and the setup of the bikes, and the fact that you basically manage your team and then go to this Grand Prix? And then also in terms of the difficulty and the enjoyment factor, which one do you prefer?
So if you look at the TT, they're two completely different races. When you go to the TT, the racing at the TT, it's over 2 weeks, and you've got, if you can enter all the races, there's 6 races in race week. Okay, so you're jumping from bike to bike. You're on 1,000. Then a big super bike, then you're on a little lightweight bike, then you're on a little 600, then a little electric bike. Macau is like a race weekend. So when you go to Macau, we ride, you've got one practice at 5:30 Thursday morning, you've got a qualifying Thursday night, you've got one Friday, another practice Friday morning, and a qualifying Friday night, and then you race the Saturday. When you race around the TT course, it's a race against time. So you're racing yourself. They start you on the grid, you go off in 10-second intervals, so every 10 seconds a guy goes, and then basically it's a time event. Macau is basically what we do here, like the Motul series, except on a public road. So there's no rules in Macau. There's one or two, some of the top teams arrive there with MotoGP bikes, they arrive there with World Superbikes, and you go out and you qualify and you're on a grid. I think they cut it down to 28 riders. It's a mass start. I think our circuit's 8Ks a lap, so it's still quite a long lap. Then obviously Macau is a lot different. You always compare Macau to the likes of Monaco, because I know a lot of people in the Formula 1 Monaco, and you've got the same sort of background. You've got the barriers and things like that. So speed aspect on the road is phenomenal. We run the same gearing as the TT, so we still do quite stupid speed straight. Macau itself is basically a small island full of casinos. So it's just it's the Vegas of the West. So it's meant, so you've got casinos, you've got bikes, you've got cars, and it's basically a festival of people going mad. Physically, I'd say the TT, I prefer the TT, and nothing will compare to the TT. TT is phenomenal. We do Macau as I enjoy it. You know, it's an opportunity someone is given to go and ride there. You got to be invited to Macau. And it's a short list of things to get involved in. And that I can make it there, and they can give us a trip to have a go around. I've taken bike over 2 years prior, an R1, and I sit back and I go, who in the world can build their bike? You know, we prep our own bikes. We build our bike here in Joburg, put it in a box in the middle of China, and go and do stupid speeds around the road, you know. So Macau's got a bit of a special thing for.
It's almost like a Hollywood weekend, isn't it? It's like all glam and fam and like rich people hanging out with a motoring festival.
It's like watching The Hangover, just put motorbikes involved as well.
That sounds horrible. It sounds like such a bad idea. So this picture we have in the right-hand corner with you touching the wall. Now, yes. I don't know which turn that is or which speed you are doing, but do you want to just tell us and our viewers what's happening in that picture? Because that's the norm. That's not something going wrong or a misplaced body position. Like, you need to kiss that wall going around that corner.
That part of the track, believe it or not, I think it's called Hospital Hill. And the reason being is on the right hand above you is the hospital. And if you stand at the entrance to the hospital, you can look down and you can watch the race. So when you ride around Macau, you ride around the side, and whilst coming down the hill, that is the start of, we call it like a flick over. And because of the barriers, it's not like if we were on a short circuit where you could turn off the curb and you use every little bit of road possible and run on the dirt. If you look at the way you sat on the road while riding around Macau, you don't want to be hanging off the bike much. Now, we teach the art of racing a motorbike is to get your riding style right. When you ride around there, the more you're sitting on the bike, the closer you get to the wall, the more space you create for yourself turning into the next turn. So that corner there in particular is you've got to, and you've got a flow building up to that of a couple of left and right turns, and if you mess, it's like playing pinball. You bounce off all the barriers, so you've got to time it so that you go as tight as you can to make the transition, you know, to go down the hill. And every now and then your shoulder does touch. It's not a planned thing, but you're that close, and it's what happens.
And what goes through your head when you feel it? I mean, I know it's a split second. You don't even think about it. But like you said, so after you get off the track and you see a picture of yourself on your bike that you built in Johannesburg, freighted across the world to be there, and then you see this coming off the track, what does the post getting off the track and off the bike adrenaline and the red mist, what goes through your head after that's worn off and you see a picture like this? What's your mental reaction?
You know, the psychological side of going is the worst thing in the world. I'll be honest with you. When I go to places like the TT, I take my girlfriend Dom across with me, and she puts up with a lot because I'm the most miserable person you've ever seen in your life. You wake up every morning and you're stressing, and you're like, okay, I hope we have a good night tonight. I hope practice goes well and there's no problems. Then that builds up the whole day. You've got butterflies in your stomach. You then got your 2-hour session. You come in, and it's the best thing in the world. You know, I try not to watch a lot of the videos and places because you end up scaring yourself. When you see the photos, you sit and you go, yes, that photo is nice, and you didn't know you did it, and it's nice to buzz off, but sometimes you sit back and you get these guys that want to show you videos crashing and all of that, and I hide away, I switch off, because you've got to, how can I explain it? You've got to sound stupid to not accept the speed you're going, but at the same time, you don't want to know how fast you're going, because the reality is there's some places where the law just off in a line, and it's not right. You shouldn't be going that fast through a public town.
Cliff, what do you reckon about that picture, man?
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely insane. And what I wanted to find out from you, because I mean, like you said, like Macau it's a give or take an 8-kilometer lap, and then the Isle of Man is a very long lap time. How easy is it? Because you're building the bike for Macau, and then obviously Isle of Man, they give you a bike to run. But how easy is it, or difficult is it to find setup? I mean, how would you set your suspension and stuff like that? Because obviously you've got everything happening on a lap time. You've got bumps, you've got fast corners, you've got tight corners. So what's when you get there, what's the base that you work off, or how do you find that base setting to get you going?
So when you ride around Macau, we race it like a short circuit, and the guys are pushing, the lap times they're pushing. I remember the first year I was in Macau, Ian Hutchinson came and I thought it felt like we were on the lap record going around Red Star. That's how hard the guys push. You sit and you go road racing, maybe the guys ride at 65% because of the danger. I promise you now, if you ever get a bit of time, you can Google a race called the Ulster Grand Prix. Watch how those guys ride the 600s in that Ulster Grand Prix. They're pushing at 200%. So Macau, your setup is critical, sort of what we work on here in terms of a stiffer short circuit setup. When you ride at the TT, you're very close to road bike setting, because exactly what you're saying, you've got a big variance of very fast, long, high-speed corners. Then you've got one or two bumpy sections, and then obviously the mountains, the mountain of the TT, it's very open, very flowy, and it's a lot of the guys that come from the short circuits enjoy the mountain, and they tend to go fast over the mountain because it's a short circuit. But you got to run the bike very low. You run it very, very, very soft so it can absorb the bumps. But you basically want it to ride the bumps as fast as possible, but as stable as you can. It's a happy medium. You'll get it there or thereabout, and then you've got to hold on to it. You'll never get it perfect.
It's absolutely crazy, but I mean, I understand what you're saying. It makes a hell of a lot of sense. But you've also, like, over the last few years, like you said, you've ridden a whole lot of different bikes, and you've also ridden an electric bike around the Isle of Man. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, the electric bike was mental. That was an experience. Impressive though. It was fast. It was quicker than I thought. And how I got on the electric bike the first time, I've ridden it twice, and the guy that runs the team, it was the city that I rode, and the guy, Robert Driver, some of the guys will probably remember his dad. His dad is a big legend here in South Africa, Paddy Driver. And what happened was, this was a project that the university had built. And the universities sort of compete against each other in building this electric. And they had a rider on the bike, James Cowton. And James had crashed and broke his collarbone. And I actually went down. I was at the bottom of Bray Hill, and we were standing there by the petrol station, busy watching the Superstock race. And my phone rang, and Rob said, AJ, how far are you from the grandstand? So I said, why? He said, well, James has just crashed. He's broken his collarbone. Do you want to ride? So I ran into town, caught a taxi, got back to the line, and I'd never seen the bike. Normally you can sit in the pits and they can do a bit of setting for you and comfortable. Yeah. I literally put my leathers on. I walked straight into the awning, climbed on this bike. That picture there was the dash on the bike was a Samsung tablet, and I didn't know how to start it. And they were busy showing me where you activate it. And those bikes are impressive. The weight of the bike, they weigh, if I'm not mistaken, kilos. Okay, the limit, they're not allowed to weigh more than 300 kilos. It's basic batteries with a big engine in the back, and it's in an R6 frame with the R6 fairing on, and it makes 400 Newton torque direct from the crank. So it's basically the same as what a Formula 1 car could make. The difference is you've got to set up how you make the power. And the trick to riding there's one lap around the TT course is you can't just hold the throttle open. We geared it to do 170 mile an hour. Okay, so you're still doing the top speeds. The problem you have is you've got a bit of the smoother you are, the less power you use. So if you're very erratic with a bike, you've got to let those batteries last the full lap of the course. Otherwise, you break down, and then you don't finish the race. So it's a bit of a chess game. And I mean, we narrated 1 year where we took a piece of paper and we put it in the dash and our watch with certain parts of the track that I would pass at certain times, and that would get 100 and I think it was 102 or 103 mile an hour lap. And so you could sit and play, and I promise you, it's a completely different aspect to riding the big bikes,
Jeepers. I mean, this is the thing with the electric bikes. You see the electric series going onto MotoGP, getting around the circuits and how that's set up. And just having the opportunity to do that for the first time around the TT course just sounds insane. I can't even imagine the peer pressure or the stress that would evoke in one Jeepers.
I'll tell you what you enjoyed, Keith, is sorry. I'll tell you what you enjoy there is you because the bike doesn't make a noise. So you hear the craziest things while you're riding. You could hear the chain running, then you touch the brakes. You could hear the brake pad screeching. My first lap I did on the bike, believe it or not, it had the students had put a breather on the gearbox, and there was a little breather pipe. But I got halfway around not knowing what it was doing, and it started spraying oil all over my bike. I thought it was battery acid. And I still remember I managed to finish the lap because if we finished the lap, we wouldn't qualify to start the race. And I remember coming in, jumping off the bike and running and diving in the shower, shouting to the guys, I'm full of battery acid. And only once I'd had a shower and got everything off and everything sorted, did the mechanics tell me it was oil. And that became, every time you walk into the pit, it's standing down, watch the oil, mind the oil.
Jeepers. Well, I mean, that's quite an experience. We had a question coming in from Francois. Hello, Uncle Francois. He has a question, AJ. Would you consider one doing the Ulster 200 or the 200 again? And then are you planning to go back to the TT? I mean, you were planning to go this year, weren't you?
Yeah. So we were putting a deal together to ride a Suzuki at the TT, and then later they have what's called the Classic TT, which we were going to try and jump on a bike there. The 900 that he's talking about is I've been there. I've ridden a bicycle around there. I went there in 2007, and phenomenal, absolutely unbelievable. A lot of the TT guys will go to the Northwest 200 to get their head up to speed as a build-up because it runs 2 weeks before the TT runs. And the problem I have in terms of going to do races like that is if I leave South Africa, I'm away from work and from home and that for 3 weeks. Now, to go and do the Northwest 200, I'll be there for 2 weeks, 2-week break, and then another 3 weeks at the TT. And it just, economically, I can't do. I love to ride the Northwest. It's something I'd really love to do. But even like when we were at the TT last year with our Lekker Racing shop growing now, you sit every day on WhatsApp calls with my dad, and my dad's got to run the fort. So it's I'd love to do the Northwest, I really would, but time just doesn't make it work.
Oh, so we have a surprise visitor. Hello, Uncle Rob.
Nou, hoe gaan het? Wat sê jy?
Nee, ek kan nie klaar nie self.
Hello, Uncle Rob.
Hey AJ, how you?
No,
Hey Cliffies.
How's it, Mr. Rob? I didn't expect to see your beautiful face so early in the show, but I'm glad you're here now.
And there's the birthday boy. Happy birthday, Sean Portman. Are you practicing,
Thanks,
bud?
guys. Appreciate it. Huh?
Sean's trying to beat my on the Red Star Challenge. I hope he's not.
No. We're not on there because that's just for a bunch of cheaters.
AJ,
we do the real.
Just before
I'm too heavy
we
to
had
compete.
Sorry, we're mixing signals here completely. We've got a birthday boy and the other Portman, and we had a picture earlier of Sean and AJ racing their 50s together. And it was the same 50. You
Yeah.
sent me a picture of where you also started. And I don't know if you watched the beginning of the show, Rob, where AJ was kind
Yes.
of saying how when he started racing, you were already a national man to look up to. So
Yes.
he feels old, and he doesn't want to know how old you feel.
Yes, it's my book. You don't want to know how old I am. Crazy. It's crazy. But check, I want to show you quickly the lacquer birthday cake my mom made for my brother on his lockdown birthday.
32. Look at that. Tannie Janet. Ja,
Ja, maar
mense word gespoil in lockdown.
It's toilet paper with a big cock.
It's only a mother that can love her sons. Cool. I mean, jeepers.
Like a big
Good.
toilet
So,
paper with a
listen,
big cock.
I wanted to quickly, Rob, while I've got you and AJ on the show, I'd like to know, like, you've got an opportunity to interview. You had a nice interview with Dive Bomb Binder with Donovan this
Yes.
afternoon. That was cool. But if you've got 2 questions for AJ, immediate questions, and maybe about his circuit racing locally or something, what would that be? And how do you see this person in motorcycle racing in South Africa? Do you think we will ever get to a point where we have street racing?
Well, look, without making his head grow too big, AJ obviously is a real true ambassador to South African motorcycle racing. To go over and race those street races, I was lucky enough to go over to the Isle of Man race, I think 2017 or 2018. And let me just tell you, it's insane. Pictures and videos and onboards don't even actually do it justice. The speeds and the commitment that those oaks must have, the commitment that AJ must have. Look, I'll drill him on a normal racetrack any day of the week, but on a road, that's stupid fast. Let me tell you, that takes huge balls, it takes huge courage, it takes huge commitment, not only from AJ, but from a family point of view. I remember sitting and watching the Allann-Jon TT on the TV the one day, and I said to my wife Amy then, like, geez, can you imagine me doing that? And she literally said to me, if you do that, I'll leave you, because she wouldn't want to go through that pain, that suffering, that worry, that stress of having to watch me do that. So, from the whole Venter family, I take my hat off to them. So it's incredible what they do. Yeah, I mean, if you just look at that, it's insane. I mean, and let me tell you, those roads look a lot wider on the camera than they actually are. Those roads are narrow. They're like our roads here. So it's absolute madness, and I take my hat off to AJ and his whole family for committing to that and doing that. If I had any questions for AJ, I suppose the only question I would have is, what question can we ask AJ, Sean?
How did he
how did you actually manage to beat Sean Portman in the 50cc championship? Like, that's unheard of. Like, no.
It was the 2 races that Sean didn't finish. I scored extra points.
How do you beat this finely tuned athlete?
Keith, and Robert Shaw will back me. The days when we used to race those 50s and 125s, if you saw the fun, there was no such thing as politics. We were just young kids, and we used to play soccer afterwards. And I mean, you'd come onto the back straight at Midvale, and there'd be 5 50s abreast. And anybody could lead into the turn at NSF hundreds. And I just wish the racing, in this day and age, would go back to that in terms of fun. Less of the politicians and more of the reason why the kids are racing and enjoying themselves. I mean, days in those days.
I'm seeing everyone shaking heads. I'm just going to shake my head and go, yeah, I wish I knew what it was to be in the racing community at that time. Because, I mean, I grew up as a spectator in that time. And it was just incredible. I mean, the stands were literally full. But I'm sure there's a huge effort happening across the board. You're racing in the Monaco series, all of you. That's our guest at the moment. You're all racing in the Monaco at the moment. Is that good practice for you, AJ? And would you go back and do a few national SBKs?
Yeah, Keith, I am riding in the Monaco series. I'm riding my Suzuki that we've built now. And I know Rob's riding. And, we've got a lot from our shop that compete in the Monaco series. And what sucks me into the Monaco thing is the vibe. In PE, I had a bit of a mishap on Thursday, and within half, someone had offered me a bike to race the Saturday. I know Damien helped one of the youngsters. If you look at the vibe and the effort the Bots guys put in, and they're making racing as cheap as possible as they can. The national stuff, yes, I'd love to. I'd love to ride a national. And one thing, a racer will always be a racer. And if I ever want to put myself against people and a level of competition, the nationals is the place to be. You've got the best in the country, and if not some of the best in the world. I mean, Clint's done well. Clint's had some really good rides in America, and the pace that he's running. Lance is a former world superbike rider, so the pace at nationals is phenomenal. What sucks me into the monocle series, like I say, I've got a lot of guys that we teach and a lot of customers. We do the tire support, and if the days didn't clash, I'd probably ride a lot in the national series. But I'm very happy. I mean, in PE, me and Rob, we'll finish a race and we can sit and laugh about it afterwards. There's one or two people that go in there a little bit loose, and Robert are the first people to sit back and go, geez, like, oh, you guys can ride into each other. We've got nappies to change,
Yeah, that's true. Listen, I don't want to cut you short, but AJ, I want to just thank you from us at Raceday and Hanging Cable for joining us on this episode and talking about your road racing. We're going to jump and have a little chat with the Portman brothers. But is there any partners and sponsors that you want to take an opportunity to just say thanks and make sure that they follow you and support you going forward?
Yeah, look, Keith, thank you. Just you and Cliffy and to Rob and for everyone for running the show, Raceday TV, magazine. I mean, Rob puts a big effort into the racing in South Africa. Even when we race, and it was a Superbike magazine, there's someone giving back and giving the marketing value, and that's credit to Rob. That's obviously why he's been involved a long time. Some of my personal sponsors, obviously, that make my custom suits. I've got a good affiliation with Dunlop, Ace Suzuki South Africa, and listen, guys, more thanks to you guys for giving opportunity and the youngsters to showcase and thank their sponsors.
Awesome. Well, I'm definitely sure we're going to see in the future. Cliff, last words for the fastest road racer out of Africa?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna kiss a bit of bum cheek, but thanks very much for coming on the show, man. It's been a very, very enlightening session chatting to you, because I mean, I don't know too much about the Isle of Man, but you've really enlightened me, and it actually makes a lot more sense now. Maybe you've even converted me to a bit more of a fan. So thanks very much, man. I really appreciate the feedback.
Awesome, guys. Awesome. Thank you very much.
Good. We hope to see you on a racetrack soon. Drop. Cheers, AJ.
Cheers, AJ, man. Take it easy, bud.
So, Mr. Portman, how are you, sir? How are you doing, and how's your brother? Any plans? What's happening?
No, all good, eh? Been keeping nice and busy, getting ready. The April issue of RideFast is still available on that free digital platform on motormedia.co.za. Working on the May issue, which I should have ready by Monday, the 4th of May, to go out. So finding it hard to get advertisers, obviously, in this tough time, because we don't know what's going to happen. We're going to have to wait and see tomorrow night what Mr. President says. But I think another lockdown is coming, but we're just going to have to wait and see what the restrictions and that are. But we've got some loyal advertisers still sticking with us. We've had such a good response with the April issue being free. I think we're over like 30,000 views of the magazine so far. So yeah, the response has been really good. And yeah, for my brother's birthday, just came here to my mom's house, gonna finally get a free meal. I'm so sick of cooking my own supper and washing pans and cook. I'm so over it. I can't tell you. So I'm gonna get a lekker home cooked proper meal from my mom. She's very cross that I haven't been eating veggies, because when you make your own food at home, you don't want to make veggies with it. So my mom's got carrots, peas, and then gonna enjoy a lekker toilet roll cake with a piece of cock next to it.
That's the funniest thing I've seen this whole week. Rob, I just want to quickly get to biking and that kind of thing, and just your opinion very quickly, because obviously we keep asking you questions, and poor you, because we just expect you have all the answers. But like from a local racing perspective, I mean, this is us just speculating, but if we don't race in the next month, right, do you think a championship like the Nationals and Monaco would still continue and be a fair championship? Or do you think everyone will stick together and say we'd rather just not and build projects for next year? What do you think makes more sense at this point?
Look, I had a nice long chat to Ian Hardwood from Bridgestone this morning. He called me to wish my brother happy birthday, and we got chatting. And but by the sounds of it, and what Ian's told me is they're working really, really hard behind the scenes. It's been tough. It's been tough for them because they had this whole plan for National Superbikes this year. They've air freighted in at a huge cost, a massive amount of Bridgestone tyres to bring the cost of them down for all the competitors, not only in Superbikes but in the Bridgestone Challenge and all that. So this has hit them really hard, but they are working big time behind the scene. And I asked him about it. I said, what's going to happen with racing this year? Because as far as the Monaco series is, of course we'll go racing again, but that's only once we can and once the lockdown or the president allows us to do it. The biggest problem we have now is, we're going to come out of the lockdown slowly, but even if lockdown ended tomorrow, if the president came tomorrow and said, cool, lockdown's over, I don't know how many people would actually feel safe in just going out and being in crowds and carrying on with normal life. So regardless of when we come out of lockdown, we've still got to be so careful because it's an invisible killer out there. We can't see COVID. We don't know if we've got it. We don't know anything. So, but speaking to Ian, they're very positive. They've got plans in place to look at potential scenarios to go racing. They definitely are going to go racing. They're going to finish the season off somehow, whether it be, racing every couple of weekends, races on Friday, races on Saturday as well. But yeah, they're not just lying down and taking this. They've got plans in place, and they've got ideas to go racing. So there is going to have to be a minimum. You can't just declare a championship after 2 or 3 rounds. Everyone's got to have a fair shot at it. So they've got to look at the legal side of everything, and then they've got to look at, obviously, first port of call, what's the best for the competitors. So knowing Ian and his team, they're very, very hard with competitors. So I'm pretty sure they'll get them involved and get their views and try and make a championship happen. The same can be said for Monaco. Whatever, we've got to all come to that. It's all race organizers, sponsors, competitors. I think everyone needs to sit down as soon as we can, whenever the time is available, and decide what the best way to go for in a safe way.
I have a question. Do you foresee, and this is very early and I'm also just throwing stuff out there, but do you see some way, if it's a spectator issue and there's always too many people at the venues or something, would it ever turn to something like closed racing or a new format of racing where it's kind of spread, like you said, over a few days and there's like an open track and you put in the best 10 laps kind of thing? Do you think people will even be open to stuff like that or not really? It's far-fetched.
The reality is, I think something like that is going to happen. They're doing it with football games. They're going to do it with MotoGP, Formula One, where it's going to be racing in closed quarters, very limited pit crew, limited, family members and everything. And I think we might, at least for the first couple of rounds, look at doing that. Where, okay, cool, let's go race in East London, but it's literally, a race team with 2 mechanics and a rider type thing. No spectators, unfortunately. You can't do that because that's going to be the biggest problem, is just how many people keeping distance and everything. But that was one of the subjects I spoke to with Ian this morning was, how would you do that? And he said we would have to do something like that where, each rider and member would have to be tested. They'd have to prove they've been tested and that they are healthy and they're not carrying the COVID. So yeah, look, we're going to have to get very inventive with ways if we want to see sports, any kind of sport, not just motor racing, but soccer, the Premier, they're talking about closed games. For them, they miss out the money on spectators and the income they get from that, but they still get big revenue from TV coverage, and so they can still pay the. We've always wanted to get the spectators as close to the racing action as possible, but. If we can't do that and the only way to go racing is behind closed doors, then that's the reality of it,
Cliffy, your thoughts on that?
Yeah. You pretty much covered it, but I just wanted to ask you, you chatting to Ian and all the organising that, but on a club level, do you think that they're still going to try and push away races and try and still go down to East London and PE and all sorts? Because the position I sit with now is, I mean, we've got letters now from our companies and all sorts, and they turn around and say that, you know, while we're in lockdown, we're going to use some of your annual leave, and then from there it's unpaid and all sorts. So for, like, on myself, I look and say, well, if we're going PE, East London, Cape Town, it almost becomes impossible from a leave point of view and for a work type of scenario. Do you think they would maybe change up the calendar and say, okay, let's just try and keep it local and then and try and get a championship together? Or do you think they would still try and give all the provinces a race with all the racetracks around the country?
Yeah, look, that was another touchy subject that I said to Ian. You know, even when we can go racing, which riders can afford it, first of all, because, you know, money is going to become a big problem. And to go take 10, 15 grand to go to a race meeting is not going to be the easiest thing to do. And like you said, the time factor. So they're trying to factor in, and as you know, all the scenarios as possible. I think keeping it locally for now would probably be the best option from a finance point of view, and like you said, from a leave point of view, and that because I think 90% of the riders do come from Gauteng and are locally based. So look, if we can open it up to the East Londons and the PEs, and that, of course, they will be. But first port of call is, you know, to make it affordable as possible, and to make it happen. And I think keeping it locally, Swartkops, Red Star, those kind of tracks would probably be the best bet. But knowing Ian and all the guys, they'll definitely want to go to PE and East London and that, because it is a national sport. And we'll try and make do. But again, that's why I know Ian and them, as soon as they have an idea of what they can do, they're going to get hold of all the riders. All you guys will be involved in the conversation and say, right, guys, what is the best way forward here? How can we make this go? It's not about us now making money and whatever. It's about us together as a biking community and this work. And going racing the best way for everyone.
Yeah. Well, Rob, as always, it's a great pleasure to have you on Hanging Cable South Africa on Raceday.tv. You're such a legend. Thanks for always making the time to join us. We're looking forward to the next RideFast edition. Have you had a moment to see the Motul Moments competition, the coloring competition that we started running, and some of the submissions that's come in with you and AJ in that competition? I think that's a good prize, worth 5,000 Rand of Motul products.
I promise you, if I had colouring in pencils at home and if I could colour in, I would enter it. But I failed miserably at colouring in at school. Like, I was really terrible. So, but I mean, there was that one entry, I think it was Nigel Brunt's mother or something, that picture of me. I mean, that is incredible. There's Dylan Conway sent in some really good entries. So, yeah, there. I mean, that's incredible. That's better than almost the real thing. Like, I couldn't have even photoshopped that well. So, there's some really good entries, and a big up to Motul for still throwing in that prize, because that's a massive prize in these kind of times. So, yeah, good luck to everyone. Keep those entries coming in, and let's see how educated South Africa is and how well we can colour in.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for joining us. Clifford, are you going back to work then tomorrow, bud?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice. We've got some essential orders that need to go out, but it's actually nice to get out in the wilderness and see what's happening. So for the next couple of days, I'm back at work, which means that I'm saving a bit of money in the race bike fund. So I'm not complaining too much.
Awesome. Well, guys, thanks all for joining us. Happy birthday to Sean. Enjoy your 32nd birthday, young man. I can't believe you're younger than me. I couldn't believe that. It makes me feel really old. Keepers. Guys, please get your...
older.
Eh?
The beard makes you look a lot older, I think.
It makes me feel old on the inside too. Trust me. Guys, thank you so much for joining us, and AJ also for joining us tonight. AJ, thanks for joining us. We think you're an absolute legend. Oh, the crash. Oh, there's a young future road racer. I can see it in his eyes. Say bye. Guys, thank you so much for joining us on Raceday.tv on Hanging Cable with myself and Cliff and Robin, AJ and Sean. It was lovely to have you. We'll see you guys next week, Wednesday. I have an update on Hammery Timmerman. He's doing much better. We wanted to get him on the show this evening, but I do think we're going to keep him at bay for a few weeks and just let him heal up and recover after his surgery. So all the best, Harry. We'll chat to you soon. And all the race fans. Rob, Cliff, see you guys on the flip side. Thank you so much. Have a good week, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, I love you lots.
Take it easy.
Love you lots. Bye.
That's it.